Imagine a time when a factory sedan could outrun a police cruiser right off the dealer lot, and a big block V8 shook the windows of every house on the block. Today we take a look at 15 American muscle cars that blew every other car off the road. In 1964, Pontiac did something no major automaker had dared to do before. Engineers John DeLorean and Jim Wangers took the intermediate-sized Tempest and dropped in a 389 cubic inch V8 that was only supposed to be available in full-size cars. The result was the GTO, widely considered the car that started the entire muscle car era. General Motors had an internal policy banning engines larger than 330 cubic inches in mid-size vehicles, so Pontiac marketed the GTO as an option package rather than a standalone model to get around the rule. The base engine produced 325 horsepower, but the optional tri-power setup with 3 two-barrel Rochester carburetors pushed output to 348. Pontiac sold over 32,000 units in that first year alone, more than 5 times what internal projections had predicted. The GTO proved there was a massive market for affordable high-performance cars, and within 2 years, every major American automaker had a muscle car in its lineup. The name itself was borrowed from the Ferrari 250 GTO and stood for Gran Turismo Omologato, a deliberate piece of swagger from Pontiac. The 1970 Plymouth Hemi Cuda remains one of the most collectible American cars ever built. Plymouth offered it as the performance flagship of the redesigned E-body Barracuda platform, and the heart of the machine was the 426 cubic inch Hemi 5.8, an engine originally developed for NASCAR competition. The Hemi produced a factory-rated 425 horsepower, though independent dynamometer tests consistently showed true output closer to 470. The engine used hemispherical combustion chambers, dual rocker shafts per cylinder head, and a forged steel crankshaft that could withstand sustained high RPM operation. Despite its legendary status, the Hemi Cuda was not a strong seller in its day. Only 652 hardtop versions were produced in 1970 and just 14 convertibles, making the ragtop Hemi Cuda one of the rarest and most valuable muscle cars in existence. A 1970 Hemi Cuda convertible in limelight green sold at auction in 2014 for over $3.5 million. And if you ever see one at a car show, you are looking at a car worth more than most houses. Before the Mustang existed, the American pony car segment did not exist either. Ford introduced the Mustang on April 17, 1964, at the New York World's Fair, and the response was immediate. Dealers were overwhelmed, and at some locations, customers reportedly got into bidding wars on the showroom floor. Ford sold over 22,000 units on the first day alone. The original Mustang was built on the compact Falcon platform, keeping the base price at just $2,368, which made it accessible to young buyers in a way no sporty car had been before. The car could be ordered with a range of engines from an inline 6 all the way up to a 271 horsepower Hypo 289 V8, meaning you could configure it as a mild commuter or a genuine performer depending on your budget. Ford sold over 1 million Mustangs within the first 18 months of production, a record for any new model introduction. The Mustang's combination of style, performance options, and affordability created an entirely new market category and forced every competitor to scramble for an answer. The Chevrolet Chevelle SS396 debuted in 1965 as Chevy's direct response to the Pontiac GTO. The car paired a reinforced midsize body with a 396 cubic inch big block V8 rated at 375 horsepower in its top L 78 solid lifter configuration. The SS package added a stiffer suspension, wider tires, a hood with a non-functional scoop, and a blacked-out grille that gave the front end an aggressive look. However, the most fearsome version came in 1970, when Chevrolet offered the LS 6454, a 450 cubic inch V8, producing a factory-rated 450 horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque. Magazine tests of the LS6 Chevelle recorded quarter-mile times in the low 13-second range at over 100 miles per hour. Production of the LS6 lasted only 2 years before tightening emissions regulations forced Chevrolet to detune its big block engines, ending the Chevelle's reign as one of the most powerful production sedans ever sold in the United States. The LS6 Chevelle remains one of the most sought-after Chevrolets among serious collectors. If you open the hood of a 1969 Dodge Charger RT, you are looking at one of Chrysler's most celebrated V8 engines, the 440 Magnum. The Charger itself had already become a cultural icon thanks to its appearance in the 1968 film Bullitt, and later as the General Lee in The Dukes of Hazzard. The RT, which stood for Road and Track, came standard with the 440 cubic inch Magnum 5.8, producing 375 horsepower, paired to either a 4-speed manual or a TorqueFlite automatic transmission. And the car rode on Chrysler's B-body platform and featured hidden headlights behind vacuum-operated doors, a full-width taillight panel, and a fastback roofline that became one of the most recognizable shapes in American automotive history. For buyers who wanted more, the optional 426 Hemi pushed output to 425 horsepower, but added nearly $700 to the sticker price. Dodge produced just over 35,000 Charger RT models in 1969, making it one of the better-selling high-performance cars of the era. One of the most feared names on the drag strip in the late 1960s was the Plymouth Roadrunner. Introduced in 1968, the Roadrunner was designed specifically to be a no-frills, affordable muscle car stripped of luxury features to keep the price below $3,000. The base engine was a 383 cubic inch V8, producing 335 horsepower. But the optional 426 Hemi turned the car into a genuine 10-second quarter-mile machine in the hands of a skilled driver. Plymouth licensed the Roadrunner name and signature horn sound from Warner Brothers, and the cartoon bird appeared on the fenders, steering wheel, and deck lid. The horn itself was a custom-designed unit built by Air Horn Manufacturing that produced the distinctive meep-meep sound at the push of a button, and it quickly became one of the car's most talked-about features among buyers. Plymouth sold nearly 45,000 Roadrunners in its first year, nearly tripling the company's initial projection of 2,500 units. The car proved that raw power at a working-class price point could outsell the more expensive luxury-oriented muscle cars by a wide margin. In 1969, Ford built what many enthusiasts consider the ultimate factory drag car, the Boss 429 Mustang. The Boss 429 was created for a single purpose: to homologate the massive 429 cubic inch semi-hemispherical head V8 for NASCAR competition. Ford needed to sell at least 500 street versions to qualify the engine for racing, and production ultimately reached just 859 units. The engine featured aluminum cylinder heads with crescent-shaped combustion chambers, a forged steel crank, and Le Mans connecting rods rated to handle sustained operation above 7,000 revolutions per minute. Factory horsepower was listed at 375, but this figure was widely understood to be deliberately understated. The Boss 429 was not a refined car. The massive engine barely fit under the hood. The shock towers had to be moved outward. The oil pan had to be modified to clear the steering linkage. And the exhaust headers sat so close to the fender walls that heat damage was a constant concern. Today, an authenticated Boss 429 in original condition can sell for over $300,000 at auction. Before fuel injection and computer-controlled timing became standard, the Buick GSX represented the luxury end of the muscle car spectrum. Introduced in 1970 as the top performance version of the Buick Skylark, the GSX came standard with a 455 cubic inch V8, producing 360 horsepower and a massive 510 pound-feet of torque. The engine's emphasis was on low-end pulling power rather than high RPM screaming, giving the GSX a distinctly different character from its Pontiac and Chevrolet competitors. Standard equipment included a hood-mounted tachometer, front and rear spoilers, a Hurst-shifted 4-speed manual, or a 3-speed automatic, and polyglass tires mounted on 15-inch rally wheels. Buick offered the GSX in only 2 colors in its first year, Apollo White and Saturn Yellow, both with black stripes. Only 678 GSX models were produced in 1970 with the Stage 1 engine package, making it one of the rarest factory muscle cars. Despite its low production numbers, the GSX never achieved the fame of the GTO or Hemi Cuda, and it remains undervalued by collectors relative to its Mopar and Chevy rivals even today. If you walked into an AMC dealer in 1970, the car that demanded your attention was the AMC Rebel machine. American Motors was the smallest of the Big Four automakers, and the machine was its attempt to compete directly with the GTO, Chevelle SS, and Roadrunner. Under the hood sat a 390 cubic inch V8, producing 340 horsepower. Fed by a single 4-barrel Holley carburetor mounted on a Ram Air induction hood scoop that opened at full throttle. The first 1,000 units rolled off the line in a patriotic red, white, and blue color scheme that was impossible to miss in a parking lot. Standard equipment included a close-ratio 4-speed manual, a Hurst shifter, a heavy-duty cooling system, and a dogleg first-gear setup designed for quick drag strip launches. AMC sold just over 2,000 machines before discontinuing the model after a single year. While it could not match the sales volume of its big 3 competitors, the Rebel machine proved that American Motors could build a legitimate high-performance car on a fraction of the engineering budget. The 1969 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am was the beginning of a nameplate that would endure for over 3 decades. The first Trans Am was based on the second-generation Firebird platform and came standard with a Ram Air 350 cubic inch V8, though the desirable Ram Air 4 400 cubic inch engine was available as an option, producing 345 horsepower through round port cylinder heads and a more aggressive camshaft profile. The car featured functional hood scoops, a rear spoiler, white paint with blue racing stripes, and a heavy-duty suspension tuned for road course handling rather than straight-line drag racing. Only 689 Trans Ams were built in 1969, and just 8 of those were equipped with the Ram Air 4 and a 4-speed manual transmission, making that configuration one of the rarest factory Pontiacs in existence. A documented Ram Air 4-speed example sold for over $1.25 million in 2021. And the Trans Am name was borrowed from the Sports Car Club of America's Trans-American Sedan Championship Series, and Pontiac paid a $5 licensing fee for every car produced bearing the name. In 1968, Oldsmobile took its 442 performance package and created one of the most underrated muscle cars of the era, the Hurst Olds. The car was a collaboration between Oldsmobile and Hurst Performance Products, and it existed because of a loophole. GM's internal displacement ban prevented Oldsmobile from installing its 455 cubic inch Rocket Vi 8 in the midsize Cutlass, so the cars were shipped to Hurst's facility in Warminster, Pennsylvania, where the engine swap was completed outside of GM's factory floor. Each car arrived from Lansing with the standard engine removed and a blank space under the hood, ready for the transplant. The result was a silver and black Cutlass with a 4505 producing 380 horsepower, a Hurst dual-gate automatic shifter mounted on the console, and special badging that distinguished it from standard 4402 models. Only 515 units were produced in that first year. The Hurst Olds returned in several subsequent model years, but the original 1968 remains the most collectible, with well-documented examples commanding 6-figure prices at auction today. Long before the horsepower wars of the late 1960s, Chrysler had already established dominance with one engine, the 426 Hemi. First introduced in race trim in 1964, the street version arrived in 1966 and was available across the Dodge and Plymouth lineups. The engine's hemispherical combustion chambers allowed larger valves and a more efficient burn than conventional wedge head designs. to producing 425 horsepower in factory trim. However, the Hemi was expensive to manufacture. Each engine required dual rocker shafts per head, heavy-duty valve springs, and extensive hand assembly at the Marysville, Michigan plant. The street Hemi added roughly $700 to the price of any car it was installed in, which was nearly a quarter of the base price of some models. Because of the cost, total street Hemi production across all Dodge and Plymouth models between 1966 and 1971 was fewer than 11,000 units, a tiny fraction of the millions of cars Chrysler produced during that same period. Today, any Hemi-powered Mopar is considered a blue-chip collectible, and engine-correct examples with matching numbers documentation routinely sell for multiples of what their non-Hemi counterparts bring. The 1969 Camaro ZL-1 holds the distinction of being the most expensive muscle car Chevrolet offered in its era, and one of the rarest. The ZL-1 was built around a 427 cubic inch all-aluminum big block V8 that weighed roughly 100 pounds less than the standard cast-iron version. The engine was based on the same block used in Chevrolet's Can-Am racing program and produced a conservatively rated 430 horsepower, though real output was closer to 500. The all-aluminum construction was the key to the car's performance. Less weight over the front axle meant better weight distribution, quicker acceleration, and faster quarter-mile times. However, the ZL-1 engine option alone cost $4,160, more than doubling the Camaro's base price and pushing the total sticker past $7,000. Only 69 ZL-1 Camaros were built, and most were ordered by drag racers who intended to campaign them at the Strip. Today, original ZL-1 Camaros are among the most valuable American muscle cars in existence, with authenticated examples selling for over $700,000. If you saw a 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle with a cowl induction hood and blacked-out trim sitting at a traffic light in 1970, you were likely looking at the LS6, and the smart move was to stay in your lane. The LS6454 produced 450 horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque, numbers that made it the highest-rated engine Chevrolet had ever installed in a production passenger car. The engine used solid lifters, rectangular port heads, an 800 Holley 4-barrel carburetor, and a forged steel crankshaft designed to survive sustained high RPM use. Car and Driver magazine recorded a quarter-mile time of 13.44 seconds at 106 miles per hour. I'm making the LS6 Chevelle one of the fastest production cars tested that year. The LS6 package also included a heavy-duty Muncie 4-speed transmission, a 12-bolt rear axle with 4.10 gears, power front disc brakes, and a functional cowl induction system that drew cooler air from the windshield base directly into the carburetor. Chevrolet built approximately 4,475 LS6 Chevelle in 1970 before emissions regulations ended the program after a single model year. The 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona was not built for the street. It was built to win at Talladega. Dodge engineers added a pointed steel nose cone that extended the car's front end by 18 inches and mounted a towering rear wing that stood 23 inches above the trunk lid. Now, these modifications were designed purely for aerodynamic advantage at sustained speeds above 170 miles per hour on NASCAR superspeedways. The Daytona was powered by the standard 440 Magnum Phi 8, though the 426 Hemi was available as an option. On March 24, 1970, Buddy Baker drove a Daytona to a closed-course speed record of 200 miles per hour at Talladega Superspeedway, the first stock car to break that barrier. Dodge produced just 503 street-legal Daytonas to meet NASCAR's homologation requirements. Most sat on dealer lots unsold because the nose cone scraped on driveways and the car was nearly impossible to park. Some dealers reportedly removed the wings just to move inventory. Today, a Hemi-powered Daytona is one of the most sought-after American cars at any auction, with values exceeding $1.5 million. So which of these classic muscle cars would you most want in your garage? Drop a comment below to tell us your pick. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and watch the next one right here. And remember to like and subscribe. It really helps a small channel.